pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Your roll call, please.
Mayor Allison.
Here.
Tom Baylor. Did it look like anybody was on?
No,
Oh,
it doesn't work.
Tom Baylor is absent. Kathy Sherman. Here. Casey Kinsman.
Here.
Wendy Rainey. Here. Ann Schaefer. Here. Kristen Carpenter. Here. And Ken Jones is absent.
Tom Baylor just popped on.
Oh, Tom Baylor. Tom Baylor, are you present? Okay.
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here. I can't get off mute.
Florida now.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, any objection to the agenda?
No.
Hearing none, the agenda will be approved. Disclosures of conflicts of interest and ex parte communications.
I have multiple
Okay.
communications regarding the address.
Okay, and what is it?
Regarding the readdressing,
Oh, just multiple people.
multiple, yeah.
Anybody else? A communications by petition visitors, we don't have any guest speakers.
You guys.
So audience comments regarding agenda items. Any comments, come up, state your name and address, answer. Yeah, go ahead.
What's not on the screen now?
Too soon. Yeah, too soon. I know.
Hi, neighbors. As you know, I submitted a letter stating that we are upset about our address change. And I've
Yes.
had 2 conversations with Kevin Johnson. The first didn't go so well, so I came down to City Hall and talked to him in person. That went much better. But all in all, he told me that the current address that we have right now could stay the same and our city can receive the E911 services. And I spoke with Paul Trombley, and he was very kind, and he stated that we didn't need to change our addresses in order to receive E911 services. And I asked him, I said, well, how do you guys find us? And he said they had a plat of our area, and that's how they found us. I said, well, did you know we had addresses? And he did not know that. And I don't know if the other emergency personnel in town had that information or not. But I know when I have people that need to come see me out at my house, they don't know where I live. I give them my 140 EF Drive address. And within 10 minutes, they're there. They have no problem with Google Maps to find our house. You can also see our home and warehouse and carport on Google Maps. I spoke to Katie Decker, and she's with NENA, the acronym National Emergency. Anyway, the gurus that help people decide how they're going to receive the enhanced 911. And she told me I could get the address or the address standards on their website, which I did. And I've tried numerous times, and maybe I just had the wrong information, but Lori Krike, I think is how you say her name. She's with the Alaska Department of Public Safety. And she is the 911 coordinator, and I couldn't reach her. I emailed her. I never heard from her, which I thought was strange, seeing how she was a 911 coordinator. And I spoke with Carlin Wilson, and she works for the city of Anchorage, and she's in charge of addressing for the municipality of Anchorage. And I think her job title was Address Development Services Coordinator. But anyway, she's worked there for 20 years. And she told me that about 15 years ago, they had to go through Anchorage and do some changes, mainly because multiple streets have the same names. They had an emergency, there was a murder, they couldn't get to the house, blah, blah. You might even know that story. But she said our addresses that are still within the municipality of Anchorage but are outside the city do not have uniform addresses, and yet they still have E911 services. So I just believe that, we're 6.5 miles out of town. And I believe the lady that did our addressing did a great job. But she has all the even numbers on the north side of the road. All the odd numbers are on the south side. But they're all standard. And Drive, Ginkgo Drive, Gamble Drive, all the roads are named. They're all standard addresses. I also talked to this woman named Hillary Palmer, and she was fascinating to talk to. And I would suggest that if we have any questions and she is great at answering emails and phone calls. But anyway, I told you what our dilemma was here. Let's see. Right now, she is the GIS program manager for Dewberry, which is a consulting firm there in Anchorage. And she also was previously to that, she was the E911 addressing officer for the Matsu Borough. And she was the 2022-23 chair of URISA's Next Generation 911 Task Force. And that's a national level organization for GIS professionals, and the task force focusing on GIS applied to public safety. So she's definitely an expert. She served as the secretary treasurer for the Alaska chapter of APCO and NENA, which are the 911 dispatch center managers and emergency telecommunicators. She also served as a GIS subgroup chair for Governor Dunleavy's 9/11 and dispatch consolidation task force that was created by the administration, orders 218 and 320. She also chaired the Alaska Geospatial Council's Transportation Working Group for 5 years, where they worked on establishing addressing best practices for Alaska and ensuring multi-jurisdictional data interoperability. Anyway, so she was great, and I told her what was going on here, and now I can't find the letter. Oh, here it is. This is what she said, having to do with what we're dealing with right here in Cordova. As with many professions, the role of an addressing official includes a code of ethics and the notion that we should first do no harm. It's important that physical addressing include a healthy amount of common sense. You never want to inject confusion into reality by trying to clean up virtual data. During my time as the addressing official for the Matsu Borough, I was often bothered by nuances in the data created over time by her predecessors. And I wanted so badly to fix them so my data was perfect. But it was important to remember that the decisions I made would have real world impacts, either positive or negative. So every decision should be made cautiously. Changing someone's address is about the most disruptive thing you can possibly do. It injects confusion for a period of sometimes years and can interrupt people's ability to conduct business and their ability to receive goods and services. There are certain instances where changing an address is justified. So first, it's important to document whether or not this initiative is spurred by an actual problem that has been documented, or is it just a data cleanup? As far as even or odd address numbers too, that is a tier 3 issue, one of the least important types of data issues and not likely to create a delay of service in an emergency. Tier 1 issues that are far more concerning are things like duplicate addresses and duplicate street names. Tier 2 issues are things like special characters in the street name, which often causes problems in dispatch software. The concerns that property owners and residents often have when faced with a forcible address change are legitimate. An address change requires them to contact their mortgage lender, their attorney, their lawyer, if they put the property into a trust that lists the addresses on recorded legal documents. If they operate a business out of their home, they need to change things on websites, business cards, invoices, and letterhead. And you've read the letters, there's others as well. So before any address change is instituted, and only after it's proven to be the cause of a documented problem, there should be a plan for how this could be intended to help ensure the change has been propagated into various systems and coordinated with other entities like the US Post Office, Google Maps, First Responders, Dispatch Center, Utilities, State Division of Elections, State DMV, etc. If it's easier to simply amend municipal code, and I understand if there is a code from clear back in 2012, which I don't think any of us had any clue. If it's easier to simply amend a municipal code, so a few addresses aren't technically a liability issue, that should be the recommended course of action. I suspect the root cause of the problem can be resolved with proper address signage on homes or at the end of a long driveway, and by ensuring updated maps are being used by responders. Please let me know if you or anyone else has any questions or would like to discuss further. Thank you, Hillary Palmer. So I thought, she had a lot of good information that we can hopefully use here. Like I say, you could find my home using GIS. I also talked to a Leslie Jones from DNR, and she's the one that actually suggested, well, she CC'd my email to Hillary Palmer. She even told a story of there's an elderly couple in the community where she lived that lived on a corner, 2 streets on a corner lot. And they rebuilt their home, tore their home down, rebuilt it, and they put the driveway on the other side, so it had a different street name. Well, as a code, they should have changed their address. But she said, common sense and doing the less harm. They let that elderly couple keep their same address, and everybody was happy. She said that even though the odds and evens are different out in our small group of homes out there at mile 6.5, and the cities is different, that does not matter. She said it sounds like somebody was just trying to make things look pretty. Now she's an expert, so she said the most important aspect is if our emergency services can find us. And I don't know, I just think that, we've got our address posted on our warehouse, which is right next to the road. And if that would make things easier, we certainly need our emergency services. We've had to use them 4 or 5 times in the 50 years we've lived here. And I'm very grateful for them, and I think they do a wonderful job. So that it will be easier for them to post our addresses, that just seems like a simple solution. Rather than
That's part of that's the next step involved with this is to make sure we do have an code tool that's required to number your houses and make it visible. But
yeah.
But at any rate, typically we have a 3-minute limit on our things in.
Can I take somebody else's time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we appreciate your comments, and my philosophy has always been, if you got something to say, we need to hear from you, but.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I just hope that you don't disrupt our lives again. This will be the second time the city's assigned us house numbers.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna be real short. I don't have, I am short, aren't I? But, anyway, I'm just wondering, what in the heck happened? When they first assigned numbers, how did they miss this, given the right numbers out? Why are we here discussing this? So I just, we've got a lot of documents that we have given our addresses to, or PFDs, all that stuff. Passports, we give them our address. Now we got to change all that stuff. So I just hope that you guys will take all that into consideration when you go down there and talk to your employees and let them know we're upset about it. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Jack.
Bill Howard, 16 something yet, Drive. Anyway, just I just like to say that, you know, this whole thing, you know, you get a letter, you know, first week, where I was kind of after the new year saying, hey, your address has changed at the 30th of the month. You know, and that's the only communication any of us out there really received on that. And that's historically, it seems like a lot of times, and I worked for the city for 30 years, I know what it's like, but all of a sudden, communication with the residents is key. And I know a lot of times you get, I've been at fault myself, you get involved in doing something, you forget to talk to the people that are most involved in it, or it's gonna affect the most. And so, anyway, maybe this can be a learning experience to, you know, and a wake-up call to have that part of a procedure when things are being changed. Who's it affecting? Let's let them know we're trying to figure this out or do something as soon as possible, you know. Anyway, yeah, communication, and then also, yeah, the cost, you know, right now, the cost of living is going up big time in town. The cost of we just raised the sales tax. All of a sudden, here on, and then what was that? Here's some, my daughter called up down to City Hall. She said, well, it's only going to affect about 4% of the residents. Well, all of a sudden, 4% of residents, and realistically, to change all this stuff on wills and mortgages and trusts and letterheads and everything, you know, you're talking another $1,000 that, you know, on top of what we're already increasing. So, you know, it's I say let it be. Let it, you know, it's worked great for years. And like Joan pointed out, that's not a life and death issue. Changes that have to change the addresses. My house, I don't know whether I'm the north side, east side, south side, or west side, because I bought a big corner, it turns 90 degrees. So anyway, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
They're letting you go, you're still at 6 Mile. Christine Hyde. I'm about South Second Street. And hear from me and all my neighbors. So I have 2 properties on South Second Street. Evidently, what they want to do is take all the tile lights behind us, the tile lots, and move those addresses up to the main street. Okay, there's a stairway that goes down to 2 tile lots. Those belong to, well, the way we sold those lots was we used our house address and half. So the tile lot I sold is now 204.5. That's what everybody put on the paperwork. Micah and Michelle's is 202.5. Then there's tile lots that have no, nothing on. They're just blank. Then there's a boathouse down at the end. So they wanted to give our addresses to all the lots down there, whether there's anybody on them or not. And they're gonna stick them in between the new addresses we get on the main road. So how is EMS gonna know when there's nobody at a number up there that they need to be down behind? Does it make any sense? There's no road down to the tile lots. Micah and Michelle and I have a stairway that goes to 2 of the lots behind us, and that's it. There's city access to the other lots down past the other side of my house, but it's not improved. So you can't use it. So we're wondering why all our addresses are gonna get changed. It's just the one block, as far as I know, on South Side. I have 2 of those lots. And that's a lot of paperwork. Huge amount of paperwork.
Right, we appreciate your comment and that's why we're here to figure out the issue and find a solution.
Well, everybody would just be happy if they left them all 202.5, 204.5, 208.5. 212.5. I think there should be a 206.5 in there. At least EMS would know that they're over the hill, because you can't see them from the road. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Lynn Hopkins, 250 EF Drive. I was waiting to see if anyone mentioned this. And I assume you all looked at the letters, so I don't want to repeat all that. Okay, because I had just filled out passports and PFD the week before I got the letter. So now my addresses are wrong, but something that I learned today, I came in again to see Kevin. And our address currently is 250 EF Drive, and we have a lot next to us, which apparently doesn't get an address unless it has a building on it. I learned that today. Then our daughter and son-in-law are 270 next to that, so we've got the 3 lots. But her new address is gonna be 275, and our new one would be 245, which leaves 2 slots in between. So I said, Kevin, we have 1 lot, why, what is this all about? He said, well, that's in case you subdivide the lots. And I thought, first of all, we can't subdivide those lots. We're all on well and septic, and unless the city wants to provide sewer and water out there, we aren't gonna subdivide those lots. I know there have been a couple that have been, I'm not sure how those worked, what their circumstances are. But you need a certain amount of feet between every well and every septic, and we can't keep shoving more people into the same amount of space. And I know that's a whole other issue, because Cordova does need space, people moving in, young kids, they need space. It would be better to find another way that Cordova can acquire more land rather than trying to put more people on the same amount of space. But anyway, we couldn't subdivide those lots if we wanted to. So I'm wondering why the numbers were done like that, because anyway, he said it was to have extra numbers in case new houses get put in, but thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
So Sarah Tremblay, and I live at 1.8 White Shed Road. And I'm in the minority. I'm thankful to have an address. It's pretty hard to send EMS to your house when you say 1.8 White Shed Road. It's a lot of space out there. So, I just want to say thank you. I know that that is not the majority here, but I'm thankful, so thank you.
We're all glad you have an address too. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, Cameron Hayden, 1.7 Mile White Shed. I appreciate everybody's comments here tonight. I'm also in the minority. And I also have a frame of reference where I can empathize with everybody involved here. Again, I am 1.7 Mile White Shed. We don't have an address. I'm also a first responder who, over the last 8 years, have responded to countless issues in countless portions of town that also do not have addresses. And what I can say to Ms. Height's point about the staircase, I've had to respond to medical emergencies down on the SLU lots that are in those half point designations. And to speak to the earlier point where it was brought up that EMS and police have a plotted map. A lot of these plots have legacy information on them. They either have, if they don't have an address, they have the last name of the prior owner on them. A lot of these lots have changed hands over, several decades, so that legacy information is not current. Therefore, we don't have current phone numbers for the current homeowners and so on and so forth. You can see how these issues might compound themselves when we're trying to find quick, accurate, modern information for the property that's the subject of the complaint or the emergency. I can say that it's not easy for EMS and police and fire to find some of these areas because we don't have that most up-to-date information. And again, I empathize with the folks that are having their addresses changed after so long. I get it. I'm also in the same boat. While I am acquiring a new address, the first one that, my property will have ever had, I also have to change passports, change wills, change PFD information, and all of these things. But for the sake of uniformity and going forward with a more contemporary approach to addressing and E911, I think that this sets Cordova up well for the future moving forward. To the point made earlier of the conversation with our city planner about having numbers on hold for new developments or new homes being built. I think that this new, modern, up-to-date addressing system is going to allow Cordova to move forward and grow, where we're not going to run into these problems in the future because we're setting it straight now. Again, I understand this is a huge shakeup. It's a huge change to a lot of people, but if we set the foundation now, we won't run into these problems in the future. Thank you.
Any other comments from the public? We need anybody else come up, so we'll move on to maybe the chairperson, representatives of boards and commissions. Maybe from the hospital board, school board, any other boards? See anybody here? No school board or student council report? So the consent calendar is before you.
I will take the roll on the consent calendar. Ken Jones. Jason, can you tell? Does it look like, I think Tom's on there, but he says we can't hear him.
I see Tom, I see Ken.
They're both on there.
I'll text it a while ago, so.
Tom said he could hear us, but now he's talking, it looks like, and I can't hear him.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
But if Ken, can you speak, Ken? Can we hear you?
Well, that can't be Ken, he's here. Yeah, no, those aren't him. I don't know what that's showing. Well, I mean, it's him, but it's not this meeting, because look, I'm sitting over there right now.
Oh my gosh.
And Ken's sitting right there.
Crazy delay.
That took me a little bit to figure that out. Wait a minute.
I'm gonna take the roll on the consent calendar of the people in the room. Wendy Rainey on the consent calendar, yes. Ann Schaefer,
Yes.
Kathy Sherman, yes. Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Kristen Carpenter, yes. All Tom and Ken absent for now. The consent calendar is approved.
Hey, can you hear me? I'm
There
here.
are no minutes. No consideration of the bids. Boards of officers, mayor's report. As most of you were involved as well, I got a lot of E911.
I'm on the meeting, can hear and see. You. You
Comments,
guys can't hear me.
letters and emails and such. Mostly the same as what you all got too, so. Other than that, there hasn't been a lot happened in the week since we last met, so. Any questions? Okay, city manager report, Sam.
Can we just pause real quick?
Yeah.
Tom, can I get a sound check from you?
Yes, I'm here. 1, 2, 3. Hello.
People watching are saying they can hear him, but he can't.
Oh, they can hear?
Yeah, he's not coming through our speakers. Tom, can you try now?
Yes, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Hello.
Oh, this is why the laptop's muted. There we go. Yeah, he's not coming through our speakers. Tom, can you try now?
Delayed.
Yes, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Muted because it should.
We got you
Hello?
now, Tom. Yeah, we got you.
Oh.
All
So
right.
do you need speaker, is the owl on?
There we go. Yeah, it was on,
everything's on.
no, it was on the wrong input.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the owl on?
Hang on, we got an echo going down. We heard you good, but we got YouTube be on there.
Okay, it should be good now.
Okay, try again, Tom.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. You hear me?
Yeah, we got you down. Yeah.
He needs to mute.
Yes.
Does Tom have the YouTube on his end?
Turn the volume down on the computer. I think they're later. I have no idea. I don't know. Just turn the computer down. Okay, that doesn't fix anything. Okay, Tom, can you talk now?
Okay, I just unmuted. Can you hear
That's
me?
not how that works. You can't turn the computer down because the computer controls the owl volume. Tom, do you have the meeting?
Say again.
We have the input. It should be,
Then I have over here.
this computer should be muted.
But then what?
No, you don't, you're right.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Since we're not using,
Yeah, you're right.
or I guess instead of using Zoom, can we call?
Right.
Tom, can you try again?
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're making sure it's not an
Let's see
echo.
if it echoes.
Yep. Okay.
Ah,
1, 2, 3.
Echoes about 3 seconds.
That was like the Grand Canyon echo.
That doesn't. Okay, if you were welcome to take over, Jason, but you sound like you know.
1, 2, 3. Echoes about 3 seconds.
That was like the Grand Canyon echo.
That doesn't.
have a computer on his end. Like the YouTube stream, because then his YouTube stream should be muted. And he should be
But do you think he has it on Zoom and YouTube?
asking.
Oh, that's.
I just.
I think that's it. I don't know. Tom, one more time.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think somebody's got volume. Yes.
You want me to go out and come back in?
He just has Zoom on, he said.
Do we have is the YouTube one playing?
No, it's not. No. I don't think so.
Sure.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah, it sure is.
Oh, it's the YouTube, okay.
I didn't see that open. Sorry. There you
Well,
go.
we need to have YouTube
He said you
stream
could run the
automatically, we
stream.
don't need to have.
I had the stream on. I had the stream on. Yeah.
Talk to Tom.
Well, now
Tom,
he's-
Tom, one more time.
I think
1,
he's
2,
calling
3.
back
Can
in.
you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, he was gonna try that.
And then he'll think that that's what you're.
Well, we should hear our echo.
We might in 5 seconds, just give it a minute.
Well, the delay makes me think it was the YouTube.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom, are you there? I can't hear any.
Yeah.
Hey, he's not even on here. There he is.
All
Hello,
right, I just find out. Can you hear me now?
There you are, buddy.
Okay, we got you, Tom. I think we've got, I think we have a couple of YouTube things running on our laptop here, so. It's,
I just feel it.
I think it's fixed now. We're not echoing.
Well,
So I think we're all still here. Didn't lose anybody. So Sam, manager report.
Okay, so, talking here, we had our first, meeting with Kathy on the Cordova Center Chamber of Commerce, draft MOU. We went through it, of course, we made edits, and we have our next meeting on Monday, the 22nd. And yeah, it was a great meeting, pretty positive. I think we'll make some good steps forward. We also hired a street superintendent, which I'm extremely happy about. It's so awesome. His name is Stu Kaiser. He's doing a great job. He started the day after Christmas. He was like a late Christmas present for us. And, yeah, he's doing great. Ton of experience operating and management. So that's been a blessing. Blake Phillips, the investment broker, will be on the 21st city council meeting. We have the Kia Bank account open.
February 7th and 21st.
Yes. We have the Kia Bank account open. We have the signatures back to UPS. We're moving. That should be done by the end of the week. And then that'll be finally final, no more paperwork. We have been talking also with Key Bank about a line of credit to help us with the cash flow for the harbor project. We're waiting on the terms that they can do for us for that. And then once I get those, I'll get those to Holland because it requires some paperwork for that at the council level. And then, so we also have the South Harbor and also Kevin, if you guys want to ask him any questions, so. Did I call him go first?
Good evening. Hello, and bring the glasses.
Got mine?
Throw out my red lights.
I think I could do it, it's 12-point font, so, schedule on the harbor project demo is about 90% done of what's floating. Let's say we're about 10% started on the uplands on the Nickoloff, and We are offloading barge materials, staging, preparing, aligning, getting everything ready to start construction. Should be Friday, Saturday. However, still don't have a grant agreement. It's the way it is. I could go into detail on everything we've done to get our grant agreement, but say in summary, we've gone high and low, wide, and as high up as we can go in MARAD, Department of Transportation, both senators, and in the House. We've gone as high as we can go, and we got pretty high. Assistant secretaries in both. Got to both senators' chief of staffs. We talked to everyone. We pushed as hard as we can. It's moving as fast as it can. I know for a fact it's cleared transportation, but it's back down into MARAD. So we'll get it when we get it. I don't have any good news, not terrible, but just we're waiting. It's just like everything. It's like scope change. It's like permits. This takes forever. So the challenge with that is that it could delay the start of construction. It could, because we're ready for Friday or Saturday, probably Saturday to start driving pile. We don't have that grant agreement, we can't start doing it because we can't bill for reimbursement. So that's a big challenge. So, so pins and needles, we're just waiting on that grant agreement. Any questions on that? Okay. Our design is done, finishing up some drawings, getting the last few bits and pieces of just fine tuning the drawings. IFC shooting as soon as that's done, but it's all agreed on. We have 100% design set. All permitting is complete, funding. Just about burned through everything that Cordova has. Cordova's got 20,317,000. We spent Cordova money 16,000 or 16,900,000. We've got a little bit of money moving around. We've got a lot allocated to Turnigan. They've got about 20 million in billing for us, so we're behind still, which is why the line of credit is absolutely needed, because we have no cash flow without it. You know, had we had a grant agreement maybe November, perhaps we'd have been okay with cash flow, but we need cash flow. I've got the terms to the line of credit. It's about, I just got that, it's about 808. So for every $1 million that we get loaned to us, it's $87,000 in interest. It's an interest only loan. No early payment penalties, no service fees, it's just interest only. So it's 87,000 per million. So with the cap at about 5 million. So if we took 5 million, that's $435,000 it's gonna cost us. What do we need? I don't know yet. 3 million might do it, but it just depends on when we get that grant agreement in place. So not the greatest news, but it's just where we're at. Any questions?
What time period is that?
1 year per year. It's 1 year, yeah.
Can I ask, how does that work with the contractor? If we're holding them up, what's our?
Depends on how long we have to sit idle. If it's, you know, a day or something, probably be okay. But if it goes into multiple days, you've got to pay for them, because you can't demob.
Right.
It's not like they gotta come across the county or the, you know, town or whatever, or you drive across state. We all know the logistical challenges, mobilization there. So yeah, it's got us pretty well jammed up, and we're, you know, we pushed as hard. I mean, we thought that we'd have a grant agreement, because we were told as soon as NEPA was done. NEPA came and went November 2nd, and we've been waiting this entire time. So, you know, it's gonna get done. It's just not comfortable from here until we get that grant agreement. Already cleared the secretary's desk. It's just, you gotta make it back down through the channels that are running through.
Could you buy somebody a plane ticket and then go walk this through?
You know, I mean, yeah, it's frustrating, but it's just the world we live in, and because of, and really, again, because of that, I suspect we've been in this position anyways, just needing a line of credit for cash flow. You just can't throttle the grants the way you want. They're just gonna pay when they pay, how they pay, and what they pay. And so that's really the frustrating part right now, is just that we need liquidity to pay ahead to get those reimbursements, you know, so. Yeah, so we find ourselves.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start saying some things and then you guys can write me in, that's fine. We're looking at, you're saying about $3 million maybe, that's something that's. Are we able to borrow from ourselves, from the general fund, paying ourselves some interest rate sounds a whole lot better than dinky bank interest rate.
You need the permanent one.
Permanent fund, yes, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. I said I'd be saying some things and please rein me in, so thank you. I'm just throwing it out there.
Yeah, those are details, I certainly don't know the.
No, I know, and I'm,
That is an option, yes?
I would assume so, with
Yeah.
the money.
Yeah.
because so the idea is wherever we get this line of credit from, when this grant comes through, we will pay it back with the grant money.
Yes,
I mean, that's,
exactly,
okay.
exactly, but it cost us 87,000 per million.
Absolutely, I get that, and I'm saying, why can't we take that from ourselves, if we're gonna get the money back?
Making less than 435 on 3 million in our permanent fund, probably, right? In a short amount of time, it would cost us 435,000.
8%, so whatever we borrow.
Well,
Yeah, we're
we're
just
speaking
making-
cost.
We're not making 8%.
Yeah,
And I have to believe even 2 readings, transfer from the permanent fund still is immediate, it doesn't take the 30 days. I think that could happen faster than a line of credit's gonna happen.
is that line of credit whatever it is, 87,000, is that whether we need that money for 1 month or 7 months or 12 months?
We draw it, whatever we need,
Is that an annual rate?
that's, we need it, we pay it back, there's no early payment penalties, I've got it all right here. I just got it tonight, so, I won't read it all, but,
It would be,
monthly interest only payments, principal due at maturity of 1 year. That's principal, so.
But we could repay, so it potentially might not cost us
Yeah.
Yes,
435,
as
so
much
we
as
have that
as that,
out the whole year.
but still, I was.
the challenge is, again, we're talking about, we have to get the grant agreement. We cannot start construction until we get it, because then we run the risk of not being reimbursed the full 100%. Once we get the grant agreement, we get reimbursed 100%, because every dollar we're gonna use from here on out is purely for construction, and that's 100% reimbursable. The challenge is, it takes them this long to do this, what's it gonna take them for the turnaround to reimburse us?
Yeah.
If that takes them, we've had most of our the other 7 other funding vehicles, I should say, the other 4 grants and loans, 5 grants and loans. They pay pretty quick, but pretty quick is anywhere from 3 weeks to 2 months. You know, some pay you in 2 weeks. We've got a couple that paid real fast, and now they paid real fast. But, you know, we've had others that have taken a long time, a couple of months. So that, you know, so that's not a very comfortable feeling, because every month we're getting that next invoice, and there's only so much liquidity we have access to. So the sooner we can execute and move on it, you know, the better it is once we get that grant agreement in place, whatever vehicle we decide to use for funding.
So I'm just gonna go back a few steps. You reached out to Senator Murkowski and Senator Sullivan. Their aides or them,
Chief staff,
chief of staff?
yeah, I don't rate getting member conversations.
Well, there's other people in the town who might, that's
Yes.
what I'm just wondering. I'd even be willing to reach out to Murkowski, I mean, I think they represent us, they know how important our harbor project is to us, and I say we rattle a few doors while we're handling the money end of things, but this is just ridiculous. October, November till January. Squeaky wheels.
Yeah. I'm with you, this community is tied in with those people at the intimate level, and I think that there's certainly other people that could talk to the main person there. Maybe, not that is ultimately gonna help, but it's worth a try.
It won't hurt.
It won't.
Yeah.
Can't
hurt.
Yeah.
And by not doing anything is no solution.
It's not working either.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Is council okay with staff looking into a loan from the permanent fund?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Baylor.
Yeah, I think the notion is sound, but I think we just hired a financial advisor. I think this should be run through them. And when they hired on, they said, we will help you with other financial issues. So my recommendation is if the rest of the council concurs with the idea, that thought, that staff should run that through our financial advisors, see what they think, see if they could help us out with that process, which they said that they would be willing to help. And then as far as getting a hold of Murkowski or somebody else, I think definitely we need to put those people on the record, get them personally. So that's a great idea.
Okay. I think we should look into what we think from the permanent fund as well. I think didn't that proposal come from the financial advisors? Or
Key Bank using the assets in the permanent fund as the claim.
Just flat, yeah.
But I could talk to Blake.
It's worth asking them, and then ask them about, from the permanent fund, 500,000 in permanent fund interest on half of it is twice as much as we've gotten in the past 10 years, in any individual year. So, investing in ourselves, I think is a good thing to do.
I just have one question. We were talking back with Brandon, what's his name, Brandon?
Blake.
Blake, thank you. And I've watched the YouTube on it and, he worked independently from KeyBank, correct? Okay, that's what I just want to make sure before we're asked.
Yeah. Yes.
I didn't want to end on a downer note call, and I wanted to say that my husband is absolutely fascinated with watching the construction. And if he gets in the way, you should kick him out. But it is absolutely fascinating to see, and it's incredible to see the harbor without anything in it, how expansive it becomes. It's really fascinating. So.
Yeah, it's apparently the largest single floating complex in the state. So it's 97,000 square feet or something like that. It's got some amazing statistics at how much dock we're putting in there. So we will get there. It's just gonna be a little painful or uncomfortable, I'll say. So it's there. There's a lot of material here and there's a lot more coming. So, we just have to, we can't run afoul of a process that is very difficult to alter regarding MARAD. They don't take change well because just institutionally, our first scope change to dial back because we couldn't afford it took 10 months to get approved. And that was just, hey, we're not doing one dock and we're moving a couple of news, very small, and we weren't adding, it wasn't anything that was flying in the face of environmental permitting or anything. We're just saying we're gonna just do a little bit less, but all the elements will still be there. It took 10 months, and it just is what it is. Yeah, I don't think they're prepared to handle this much infrastructure money just dumped on them. I'm sure they've got lots and lots of folks in, similar situations. So we're ready. We're very ready, and we're just waiting on them. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Thank you, Colin.
Thanks, Ed.
Is 911, is Kevin gonna give her?
It's still here.
Unless you have specific questions, I don't have anything beyond the memo.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I don't understand the issue on Second Street. I don't understand what I'm not familiar with what the issue was. Both Highland ones and the street lots.
Yeah, so South Second Street, there's lots down on Hodiak Slough. They're accessed from Second Street.
Downstairs.
Yeah,
The ones on the street are the half numbers, or the ones down on the slough are the slough is a half number, and now they're not half numbers, they're full numbers.
yeah, so the numbers were shifted so that the slough lots had full addresses instead of half addresses. And so at a certain point in Second Street, people were retained their addresses until a certain point, and then the rest were shifted to allow for those Second Street addresses to be in line, or the slough addresses to be in line with how the other addresses were.
Okay, thank you, I just didn't understand the layout. Thank you.
The Second Street, is that a conflict having Second Street, Second Avenue? I didn't even realize that was Second Street down there.
No, I mean, that street and avenue are different suffixes, it's not like,
But EAC Drive and EAC Avenue, that's similar and would need to be changed, correct?
it doesn't necessarily have to be changed, that would be something that, like, if EMS thought that that was too similar and they were worried about having a mix up, then that is something that we could change, because the code says if the names are similar, then they can be renamed, but they don't have to be renamed.
Mark Herman?
I just responding to some of the comments that were made earlier, as far as the tideland lots down in the slough, I think it sounds like one issue is there's an easement between the Heights and Michelle and Micah's, right? There's an easement in there
No, it's not. There's an easement on
to walk,
a walk, a stairway that goes down to only two of the sidewalks.
right? But there's an easement,
There's
on
an
land.
easement on the other side of me.
yes,
That's
right,
a city easement.
right. And so that should be marked. There should be street numbers there, whatever the numbers end up being, if that needs to be marked. I mean, that's a small thing,
You
but I'm
can't
just,
even use the easement because all the city utilities are sitting in front of it.
well, somebody.
And if you walk down the easement, you're gonna drop right off the side.
I guess what I'm thinking is there's an easement that you walk next to Micah and Michelle's house to get to the stairs, and I'm just saying, it's between Micah and Michelle's and Marita Kleisler's house.
Yeah.
Yeah, that easement, That
That's his
easement.
private property.
well, there's a public easement on there, so they just need to put street numbers on there so that people can find the stairs, that's
Oh,
all.
easement's on the other side of me.
Right, okay, so that's another topic. But, and I don't know how much that one's used, I just know that the one between Marita's house and Micah and Michelle gets used all the time, because people are going down that path to get to the stairs. So if there needs to be street numbers there, that seems like one small fix. And I guess there was somebody earlier, maybe it was Joan, was saying, what happened, it sounded like there was a policy that was adopted in 2012, that's what Kevin wrote about. But clearly numbers have been given out before that, but obviously when we adopted that policy in 2012, we weren't paying attention to what it would mean, so that happened. And so now there's this small handful of folks for whom this would be hugely disruptive. Yeah, I mean, I say a small number because town-wide, I think, so I apologize, I don't mean to make it sound like you don't count, I just mean that it's, yeah, like Sarah said earlier, there's a bunch of people that it hasn't affected at all. But there's a number of you that has enormous implications for, so, yeah.
A second time,
Right,
this will be a second.
yeah. And so I guess what I just wanna ask is how disruptive would it be if we left the numbers the way they are? I mean, it seems like if they're in the record and they're established addresses and people can find them, then why would we not just leave it that way? And I say that to open a discussion and hear, like, what are the consequences of that, is my question.
that was my comment. I mean, you're looking at this, it says renumbering of addresses shall be required whenever they're not sequential, their numbers are sequential. When they need to be changed after a road name is assigned or reassigned, there's no road name change. The lots were not assigned an address. I understand we need to assign addresses to everybody, so if they don't have one, they should have one. Or the planning department determines the renumbering is necessary. I just don't understand why we need to renumber out there. What we need to do is update the EMS charts and the maps and the plots so that they know where they are, and somebody with the city should be doing that regularly. That should be a yearly update to follow through, and just leave that section the way it is. I'm just confused, and this is coming from someone who was told that my road is New England Cannery Road, and the state calls it New England Cannery Road, but the big green sign that the state put out there that says Orca Road doesn't say New England Cannery Road, it says Orca Road. So I just don't understand why I think this is a battle we don't need to fight. I think there are other issues we could be putting our attention to, and this one does not need.
Okay, so I'm falling in between the happy people and the not happy people, because I've had 3 numbers assigned to me, and now I have 1 number. So if we let some people keep their numbers, what happens to those of us who don't get to keep our numbers? I mean, I'm gonna have to change all my paperwork. So, but I'm really, really happy to have 1 number, so I can get a real ID, but, I've had, since I lived on Upper Davis, I've had 3 different numbers. So I mean, I'm not seeing an easy solution here. I'm feeling, I'm okay with 6.5 miles, but then there are others of us who are gonna have to go through this change. And I've already started, so don't change my number again. But, I'm just saying, you make exceptions. You're gonna leave somebody out, so.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Councilmember.
Yeah, I'm following Councilwoman Rainey's questions there, and I wonder if the planner could address that. Those are some valid questions that I also had, is do we need to do this? And obviously there's some reasons. I'd love to hear those from the planner.
So, so I guess, your initial question is what is it?
The initial question is, why do we have to change 6.5 miles?
What are the consequences?
What are the consequences of not changing the numbers at 6.5 miles?
So, well, excuse me. Just to start, the council at one time had a policy created that was part of a commission. And that commission determined, while working with the emergency folks, that we needed to have a standardized system. As we just saw with the Zoom call, technology fails. So yes, we could have whatever numbers out there. They could have letters out there. Because if they have a digital map showing them where to go, then that's fine. We have a fire department that is staffed with people who come and go from this community, who have not been here long. And when technology does fail, which first of all, we don't even have the technology in place to implement the E911 system. But when that technology does fail, and those responders who have no idea about this town because they're here for a very short time, they're either, spouses of Coast Guard, or they're the Forest Service members who are here just in the summertime, and everywhere else in the community that they go, they know if they're going out the road, they turn down a road, I'm expecting these numbers on this side and these numbers on this side. And when it isn't that way, except on this one road, then confusion can ensue. So that's one reason.
I was a first responder in this town for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not gonna turn down a road and say, okay, all the numbers on this is this. I'm gonna look at the map that's listing the plat and the name of the owner, and that's what I'm gonna go off of. I think it's all in the data. I think it's all in the data, and I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it warrants disrupting that many lives to switch somebody, in fact, I think it's more confusing because you're gonna take the Weese's number and put it across the street at Underwoods and, you know, people have known these numbers. I just think you're playing with fire and it's something we don't need to do.
Well, this decision wasn't made solely by me. This was made in consultation with the fire marshal and with the previous police chief. And so, you know, this was not a planning only decision. We worked with the first responders and we followed the direction that was given to us by council and the policy that was approved.
Okay,
That's
so,
understood.
so that's understood, but now that we see the repercussions, can we have another conversation? I wasn't on the council when this was approved, so I don't have that backstory. But we see obviously that it's disrupting things. So is it, I think it's worth having another conversation before the 31st and these people have to go ahead and switch everything.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So the planner's comments on the odd and even on the roads, that's some, I was in my youth on delivery system. That is valid. You do go down a road. If you're looking for a place, you know what side of the road, if you got the address, you know it's odd or even, you do know what side of the road that you live on. And I agree. We have new people coming into town and hopefully they get involved with the EMS and other things. So that is an asset. And I'm not saying we need to change these numbers, but I do agree with what the planner is saying. And you have delivery services. You have people that deliver oil. They need to know where to go. There's a lot more into it than just saying leave it alone. So I'm kind of torn on this. It's I see why they want to do it, but I just can't dismiss it. So I'm not sure where I'm at.
Councilmember Ray?
I think the bigger question is making sure that these houses are numbered appropriately at the main road. Because if the house has a big old honking number at the main road and you can't figure out where that house is, I think we have other issues to discuss. But I think that more energy should be put into helping folks get their properties numbered appropriately than this switch up. And I'm not talking about the Orca Road thing, that's a whole nother conversation you and I are gonna have. I'm talking about the 6.5 mile change around.
Councilmember Pinson?
Yeah, I guess I guess there's a piece here that hasn't been discussed, I feel like, and that's that there was an address given at one point, and that address was wrong. But that's probably where I have I have an issue with that. Now, being new to this community, we can say first responders. I was a first responder too, and when someone said we're going to so-and-so's house, I don't have a freaking clue who the heck you're talking about at all. So that isn't reliable. And as a community, we need to do better than that. And so, yes, addressing is great. That's where we need to be, but the addressing at an initial point in 2012, a policy was created, whatever it was, north and east and south and west and odds and evens, that wasn't followed. It wasn't followed. So I mean, for whatever reason, I'm not here to necessarily point fingers, but here we are today. If we're trying to create something that's uniform for our community at large, I guess what I don't know what that looks like and how to make that correct. If we're gonna ask people on EAC Drive to change their address because of an error that was made in the city. I haven't done it yet.
You want to say her?
I don't know what I was gonna say now. So I guess out of 6.5 mile, it seems like everything is uniform, it's just swapped, so I kind of agree if it's working, yeah, like why fix something that isn't necessarily broken? Out there, with the South Second Street, I have to think about that a little more.
I'm gonna look at the street.
But out at, yeah, I know, I'm familiar with the area, I get it, but, I guess they have these addresses. If they're kept as is and it can be put into the system. And so, you know, EMS and responders would respond and it'll take them to the right house, even with these incorrect addressing. And do they use paper as well, or is it just, I don't know how they respond if they have replies and stuff are like that, yeah. Yeah, okay. I feel like if we can update our program with the most up-to-date addresses, which are these ones as is, they can get there.
Yeah, so any changes that you guys wanna make, you're gonna have to go back to policy and change those in a policy. We went through and followed it to a T, uniformity straight across the board. It's not Kevin's fault. We're all pointing fingers at Kevin here. It's not Kevin's fault. This is something that I've been dealing with the last 15 years. I brought this up many, many times. This is not something that's just been ramroded down someone's throat. This is 15 years we've been trying to do this. So if you guys want to change policy, then that's on you guys. You guys change policy, you need to change it.
Yeah, I hear you, Paul.
Yeah.
Let me just go back in time a little bit, maybe before your 15 years.
Yeah,
You're
30
talking
years.
about, who knows how long it's been a long time. We started the 911, I think we started taking $2 a piece out of people's phones for the thing, some of you had to pay that, I know CTC paid that for their customers at the time. And then the city wasn't doing anything with that, so we quit taking that 911 money. But the purpose of all of that to begin with, from my recollection anyway, was so that we could get an E911 system. But in order for an E911 system to work, we had to have unique addresses everywhere. And we don't have, it doesn't matter if it's right or left side of the road or north or south or whatever you're talking about. It just, everybody needed unique addresses. And at that time, I know we had some street names that were the same. We had a 3 Mile Bay Road name that was the same as a road up here, off of, the main street. And, anyway, there was some duplicate things out there. Some people didn't have addresses. I think Sarah said she didn't have an address until this. So we needed to correct all of that before we could consider even buying a 911 system. Now, the next step to that is gonna be to label everything and to get that into that 911 system. But if we're spending $500,000 on a 911 system that can't tell that 145 is on the right side or the left side, or can't know where that's at. You know, you can give me any address in Anchorage for anything, and it can be on the right or the left side of the road. I know that in the future, we can, I think for the future, we should be uniform. But any community that starts up is going to, you know, we're not Anchorage, we're not New York City, we're not, Salt Lake City is the one I think of all the time because they start 1-1. But 1-2, you know exactly where you're at by the addresses, but that was designed a different way. But I can go to any of those places in Anchorage right now, and even in Cordova. You know, I can punch it into my free GPS program, my Waze, and I can get right there, and it'll tell me your destination is on the right, your destination is on the left. And I think in the end goal with this is that we have a system that can then tell our first responders, tell our EMS, tell our police, tell whoever needs to respond to that exactly where to go. And I understand technology isn't perfect, but that was the goal of this, was to ultimately get everybody to have an address on the front of their phone, and I don't do the right or left thing anywhere, even in the big cities. I look at the street numbers and I'm looking on both sides to see if my 112 is coming up or not. I don't, you know, you can't rely on that either. So anyway, that was the purpose of it, was to get a system that could go into the E911 system that we're gonna spend over $500,000 on. And then each individual in this community, anybody that carries a phone, is gonna pay another $2 at least, likely, for their phone every month, which doesn't seem like that much, but you know, my family's got 6 of these. That's
I think
$12.
you're already paying that now, and it's going to Valdez.
I'm not paying it on mine. My bill doesn't say that, but anyway, I don't think that it's worth causing a bunch of headache for somebody if there's no duplication going on, but that's my opinion. I think that our goals were to make sure everybody had a unique address, and I think that is probably solved with some of this. Some of this is maybe overkill, and if policy needs to be changed, then council always has the ability to change policy. There's nobody sitting at this table probably that was at this table in 2012 when that was passed, myself maybe being an exception. You know, things change. Once we found out what the consequences were gonna be, that changes things. I think as long as it is, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but if they've got a unique address and it's in our system and it's on our maps, and you know, once we get down the road, I know just the address is the first step to all of this. So anyway, that's my thoughts. Carpenter?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think the point of this E911 system is to have a system that can direct people to where they need to go. And if each home has a unique address, that should be able to accomplish that. And it does sound like there's been this compounding of errors over time. So we have to figure out how to deal with that. And there are, I think, a lot of situations where not just addressing, but where certain things get grandfathered in. So if what we have to do is grandfather in a handful of addresses, and then the policy going forward is that every new development is gonna be numbered. I don't know how to deal with the Second Street thing, because yes, you're trying to make room for future development, so we have to figure that out. But I do think that for the folks who have had addresses that were given to them by the city, we have to stick by that. But I certainly see the value of having a policy for any new development going forward, and trying to be more disciplined about creating a system that people can follow. So
That was my question. Is there any way to grandfather that group in, but keep the policy moving forward? The 6.5 mile group. I mean, that's my issue, is taking one number from one side of the street to the other side of the street. I just think that, you know, and with new development, I have no problem with sticking with the policy, but I don't know how you grandfather stuff in, so. I don't like that word. I don't know.
I have.
Mr.
Right
Mayor?
here. Tom can go, that's fine.
Go ahead, council member. Yeah.
Well, there seems to be some more questions to be asked and answered in this, and since this was in correspondence, maybe we should put this on the next agenda to where we can all get some more information, and if we need to, we could give staff some direction. Would that kind of move this thing forward?
I think so, except with the one exception that I think the next step for hardening this in was it January 30th or 31st? Well, when did you need comments by?
I mean, that isn't necessarily a hard deadline.
Okay, so council could essentially ask staff to not lock anything in at this point in time until we have a discussion on our next meeting.
Yeah, sure.
But
So.
I'm pending agenda, yeah, we want clear.
Clear
direction.
direction on what you want.
I hear you, yeah. Councilmember Kinsman?
I mean, I think if we're gonna have a further conversation, again, being new to this community, so that's what it is. I drive around this community and see the whole darn town's grandfathered into something. And at some point, there should be some kind of uniform, and that's fine. If everyone agrees, we're gonna kick it down the road for a decade from now, for the next council to figure out that why is EAC different than the rest of our community with, I actually pulled up the excerpt of the policy, south and east side. They're gonna be even, north and west side are odd numbers. So if we correct that policy, we'll have the asterisks, unless you live on EAC Drive or Gandil, Road Street Drive, all the variations down there, then you're the opposite. So, yeah.
What are the alternatives? Yeah.
Uniform, I guess.
But, and
And again, we can have a conversation on this. I would like the city to explore some options for, possibly if there's an expense to this, let's look at how can we, if that's a property tax credit, if that's just anything, I just want some ideas, if that's how we can be a happy medium of getting something organized and actually an organized system. We're spending all this time and energy. We've had councils and committees go through and decide this is what we're gonna do. The city made an error, and that needs to be out there. But that shouldn't be, well, the city made an error, let's grandfather it. It should be, city made an error, let's take some ownership as a city that we did this. How can we make this right and still have a uniform system?
yeah, and I guess I
Which
would,
clearly goes a bigger conversation than,
yeah,
of course.
I would not say that the city made an error. I would say that the city made decisions prior to there being a policy.
I looked that up today, actually. It
Some
was
of these
even
people have had
exact-
their address since way before 2012, trust me on that one.
We looked at tax rolls today, it was 2011,
When they
Which is-
issued the current numbers?
which was when the committee was formed, end of 2011.
Right, but when they issued the street numbers they have now,
Yeah,
that was in 2011.
Yep, 2011. Yes, that's what the tax rolls reflect. So,
They do before then.
I think it was 6.5 miles before then. It was just a.
plot, whatever plot. Yeah. Anyways, so broader conversation. Thank you, Councilmember Baylor, for suggesting that.
Yeah, and prior to that, prior to the addressing, we knew everybody by name, I used to live out there when I was in high school, we knew everybody by name, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 100% of the fire department knew everybody in town. Right, well, 90% of the fire department doesn't know 98% of anybody. It's scary. Mayor Copeland sat up here 5-6 years ago and stated that we had an issue with that addressing. And it took us 27 minutes to respond to this medical emergency. So there's a policy, we followed it, here it is. And it's up to you guys to change the policy or give us direction on what you guys want to do.
Yeah, which again, I go back to the goal when we first started this was to have an E911 system that we could get data into that had unique addresses that would show us exactly where this place was. And we couldn't do that as it was then, so we started with getting the addressing fixed. But those two things the policy, every step of the policy is not required for that E911 system. Unique addresses are required for that E911 system. So that's, so I think what we want to do is put it on the next agenda. Policy.
agenda.
To discuss it further and not to keep collecting comments. People want, but, don't lock anything unique yet.
So, the one issue that I just say though is, we push this down the road to next month. what do we do about, we've received comments from 8 or 10 of the 32 or 40 people on EAC. The other people are assuming their address is changing at the end of the month. Now their address then changes back and they've already started submitting documents. What do we do in that case?
I'd get communication out there, so you can, that says we're not gonna lock these in, it's still under debate at council, submit your comments, please, but we're not, oh, you gotta communicate with. However that be.
Can I say one thing real quick? Would everyone like a copy of this letter from that Hillary Palmer, that is an
You can
expert?
submit whatever you want to the council.
I will do that.
So we'll talk about that bidding agenda.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay,
Thank you for
guys.
following the policy. That's what you guys are doing.
Following policy.
Clearly, we need to address the policy.
Anything else? Andrew?
Sam, I have a quick question. The DEC lead copper roll revision thing, you know anything about that for the water pipes? DEC has a water line inventory.
Yeah.
That's due for our community, what, April 24th is the
Yes.
draft? Okay, so you're,
So I got a grant. I gotta write an RFP. I'm gonna get a consultant. And I'm working on it. It's much of it.
okay, so ours is due the 24th of April then?
Everybody in the nation should do it.
Well, it was by community size, it was set up, so our community was 3,000 and under 3,025 service connections, more than 25 service connections, that's due April 24th for the draft.
I believe so. And it's not the state, it's EPA and
Okay,
the state is helping us by giving us money.
okay. Cause I was listening to some of the issues Ketchikan was, they were
Yeah,
literally going
nightmare.
door to door, looking in people's basements to find out if they
Yeah,
had
cause
lead
it's
pipes.
not our lines,
Right.
it's service lines.
It's service lines.
It's personal stuff.
Okay, so it is as big as a nightmare as I thought it was, okay,
Yeah, and it's,
okay.
Have we got an update from Helen recently?
I have not.
Any other questions? City clerk's report?
Just kind of catching up, I've been gone for a little bit, but working from afar, which wasn't so bad, I would say. But I did put in the same, election ad into the packet. It's also advertised where it needs to be advertised, but I always thought it gets a little extra play in a packet. And then I added this time, just to, because people don't know which seat is whose and whether or not they're turned out and who can run again, kind of thing. I just added that as a second page. And I haven't heard anything about hospital services board. I'm gonna send an email to, them, I guess, to the two people who are coming off to see if they're gonna run again. Pete Hefner and Hank Cruton have both, declared candidacy. Their seats are both coming up, and then so did,
Wendy?
no, well, somebody else for school board.
Oh.
Is Lynette Losi, Lynette, right, Losi, right, okay, she put it for school board as well. And then just Wendy for seat D, nobody for seat E as of yet, and that deadline is February 5th to appear on the ballot. And then up to the day before, if you wanna be a write-in, but make my life easier and do it by February, thank you. And then, guess we're gonna start 2 weeks ahead of the, election will be, early voting, absentee in person here at City Hall. But of course I have to get the ballot together before then, so we got time. And that was about all I was going to report on tonight.
Okay, questions for the clerk? Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Staff quarterly reports are in there.
I was gonna be giving them the deadline on quarterly, so I think a bunch of them will come in the next packet as well.
Okay, correspondence,
Let's talk about it again.
pretty much discussed it all, except for the.
Question on
thing.
the merit poll. Is there normally a map that's associated with that? I feel like were you not provided one?
Yeah, I feel like I wrote this nice little memo that I put in each one now, explaining how it goes, and now I feel like it's going a different way again. It doesn't appear as though I've been getting the initial one, the first time it goes out for public and agency review. They used to put the whole packet in, it was like a 30-page thing. And then that was to a 20-day period for us counting as an agency. Then they have a preliminary decision, and then it goes out for the 30-day public review period. So this is the agency and public, but they didn't give the whole shebang, I don't know. But there's a link to where you can go to it.
Yeah.
So maybe the online version, does that link show up as a link?
Yes, I believe it did.
Okay, good.
I thought it did.
Which would save me 30 pages of each time.
Okay, anything else on correspondence? Seeing none, then we'll move on to ordinance for the resolutions. Resolution 01-2401, the resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska designated capital improvement projects.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve resolution 04-2401, resolution of the council of the city of Cordova, Alaska designated capital improvement projects.
That's it. I think it's 01-2401. Yeah, okay.
Please, Councilmember,
So we talked about this at the last meeting. We asked staff to bring it back, so we could kind of reconsider the whole schmear, and we have the original resolution. We have a proposed list from staff that is not prioritized, and we have Kathy's notes from the last meeting, Councilmember Twins' notes from the last meeting. And, so I'm not necessarily speaking in favor exactly of the motion as proposed, but I think there's gonna be some discussion, so. Got it on the table.
Yeah, I went through and I tried to cross off the things that I think we're done or we're doing, and then I added in from the staff recommendations. If they weren't on, the draft, resolution, I added them to the appropriate section. So, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, for example, I don't know, I guess I could motion to amend and I could say my edits, or I could just say what I did.
Yeah.
So I moved to amend, I guess, under Port and Harbor, I crossed off South Harbor replacement, since that's what we're working on, you know, we're not trying to advocate for that at the Capitol.
It's underway.
It's underway, exactly, so I crossed off the South Harbor replacement. And then I also crossed off rebuild the 3-stage dock, because that's part of our, project. Is it not?
No.
Oh.
No, not there.
You got kicked off.
Oh, you're right, okay. Sorry, you're right. Okay, so never mind, strike my cross off, bring it back. Under water upgrades, I added the feasibility study and fire protection line from the staff recommendation, and I also added the water distribution upgrades. And I wasn't sure if that was redundant with any of the lists that you had there, because like upgrade pipe infrastructure, I thought maybe that was part of the water distribution upgrade. So that's maybe redundant, but I wasn't sure.
I think the, in booster station at merchants intending to improve water delivery is just a specific, but improved water delivery is like, covers it all. Whatever other magic the engineer may come up with to improve our water delivery system.
Oh, so that, oh, you're right, okay.
Even the same with the siphon.
Okay, so keep those, okay, so then, and then I added the feasibility study and the water distribution upgrades to the water upgrade section. Sewer upgrades I didn't touch. Streets, infrastructure, and equipment, I added the backhoe. Under rec safety and development, I crossed out with this kind of. And under ski hill improvements, I added the radio shed. That's under ski hill improvements.
So, under public safety. The Mount substation is on the CIP list from 24.
So we could strike that one.
Mile
4
substation.
And actually, under public safety,
It's already in the CIP list with the ARPA funds.
and under public safety, the last bullet point, engineering and preliminary design of public safety building, it was also listed on the staff recommendation to add the prep site. So. That has to be added to that section.
You all have that somewhere nice and neat for me.
I mean,
It's similar to what I did.
yeah, it's, I don't have it prioritized, which we were like starting to talk about last time.
Okay, so wait, was that a motion to amend to do what Ann said?
Yes, that was a motion to amend. We need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, do you have any other comments
No.
Councilor Kinsman? On the amendment?
In favor of it.
Anybody have comments on the amendment, Councilor Sherman?
So I'd like some clarification on rebuilding the three-stage dock. Because I asked about this last go around.
So the plan was to do it in-house. We have the lumber for it when we did the decking over in the science center and on the loading docks. We have all the decking for it. That was our plan, is to do it in-house.
So we don't need it on our
I don't believe so,
list.
yeah.
Thanks for that clarification, because I had crossed it off.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
that's-
that's okay.
I just have one clarification. You mentioned something about the Radio Shack on Ski Hill from public safety. Did you want to move that?
It's under public safety.
It's under public safety. It should be there, not under Ski Hill.
Mhm.
It should stay at the public safety.
Got it, I just didn't see that it was over there.
It's not part of Ski Hill, but
Got
just
it.
for clarification.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Any other comments on the amendment?
Under land development, it says cold storage and that caught my eye because the Prince William Sound Economic Development District has been working with some partners on developing a shared processing facility that would have cold storage. But in the process of talking about that, it was raised to us that cold storage isn't really the issue. A lot of processors use refrigerator vans. It's not, you can make cold storage modular. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that we need to build a whole new warehouse facility for cold storage. So,
Are you suggesting another amendment to remove that? It's not part of her amendment at this point in time.
yes, I would propose to take that out for now.
Yeah, we can do that, right? We can do an amendment.
Yeah, but maybe Kevin wants.
I just know that other council members in the past had, when this has been discussed before, that maybe not a cold storage building was necessary, but that the city could potentially invest in the infrastructure for, almost like a shipyard for those
sure.
containers, where we would provide infrastructure for those containers in place and set up.
Okay.
Cold storage.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, never mind. Thank you.
Power and storage.
Yes.
Flat energized space.
Yeah.
Try. Hey, any other comments on the amendment? Okay, all those in favor of the amendment as discussed, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now we're discussing the main motion as amended.
A quick question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So the way these are listed, the subtitle, Port and Harbor, water upgrades, sewer upgrades, is that in line of importance, or are they all, how does that work? Do we need to put like sewer and water as our main important thing, or does it not matter the way they're listed on this?
When we talked about this last time, we had a discussion and I think it ended up with, instead of prioritizing, because we like put this into CASs, we put grant, reference it in grant agreements and that kind of things to keep it wide open, but that's just what I remember talking about previously, and that we didn't actually prioritize any particular section.
Council previously has been told by our lobbyist that we used to have anyway, was that if the legislature has any money, they'll pick and choose their projects. If there's, if they got a couple $100,000 that they think they can give to Cordova, they'll look and find one. They don't go by priority necessarily anyway. The priority ones are probably the bigger, your high dollar ones, and our likelihood of getting that out of the legislature anymore, it isn't really too great. But if we have options, if they've got sewer and water money, or if they've got harbor money, or then they can pick from there. So we never did prioritize prior on this particular list that we provide the legislature anyway.
Okay, well, thank you. So there's no need for council to go down that road. We have our list and that'll handle it, correct?
I think so, yeah. If we were to get, $5 million, then we would need to prioritize, what we want to spend that on, but, that's not the case today, anyway. Any other discussions on this? If I might throw out a suggestion to council to maybe add one parks, restroom, building structures to put a restroom at the Mount Eccles Park. That is number one, or if not the number one, the number two most used park in town.
The Mount Eccles playground.
Yeah.
But that's when the school's closed on the weekends and stuff.
After 4 o'clock, the kids can't get in to do their thing, so they use the creek and the mountainside behind.
I don't think the city maintains that playground. It's a city building, but I don't think the city maintains that playground as a public
I
playground.
understand, but, it's the city owns the facilities,
Right.
so, anyway, I think that, that would be a much better use of restroom money than some other places in town, but anyway, just throwing that out there. I would move the one from the camper park, when the camper park is closed for 9 or 10 months out of the year. That park is being used 12 months out of the year, so. Anyway, it's okay, these kids know where to poop and pee. I mean, they're gonna do it whether we provide a place or not. So I just think it'd be a little more sanitary to have a sanitary place for them. So. Somebody.
Well, for the question.
Okay, is it ready for the question? Any objection? This is the roll call.
Just a voice.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those? Motion carries. Resolution 0124-03. Resolution of the Council of the City of Cordova, Alaska, authorizing the city manager to enter into a sole source contract with Alaska Harbor Consulting LLC to provide engineering, consultation, and documentation for the South Harbor rebuild project.
So.
Second.
Carpenter, Sigmund Sherman.
So this is something that, staff has brought to us because the project manager for the South Harbor rebuild has apparently left the firm he was working with and gone out on his own and started his own firm. And for the sake of continuity, we're being asked to support, entering into a contract with this person, if I understand it,
It's the marine engineer.
the marine engineer, yeah.
She has moved away from, our contract with R&M is complete,
Mhm.
and she has moved on her own. And we need to keep her mind in our project.
Yeah, so, based on what's been presented to us, I support it to, continue working with the person who has been involved with this project so far.
Member Sherman.
Yes, so Councilman Carpenter gave the background, and also in the memo to us, it looks as though we'll save a little money as well, so I'm all for continuity and saving money.
And you get gold.
So this contract is replacing something else, or it doesn't add to the total price of the project? Or does?
So the contract as it existed was with R&M Consulting, and Kim Nielsen is the engineer that we've been working with through R&M. We've been paying for that consultation fee out of the harbor account. So it doesn't add to the bottom line for the construction, comes out of a different pot of money. Like I said, it's like less than half of what we've been paying, because we're paying for a larger company. This is one person going on her own, that she's more than qualified. And so but it doesn't change the bottom line of the construction cost of the harbor. It comes from a different bottom line.
We would have been paying this either way, only more.
No matter what we need engineering expertise through the life of the project, so we shall provide that, and as she's been doing.
Any other questions?
Listen, question, so there's another person, isn't there, Mark Kelly?
So we have, our consultants, we have Mark Keller LLC, provides project management support. We have Kim at Alaska Harbors now LLC, that's engineering support. And then we also have Solstice Environmental, who provides all our environmental consultation. Those are our three primary consultants who've been on board for well over 2 years now. So they're all still with us. Obviously, the environmental side is peeling away far less in billing hours, although, anyways, far less, because all they're managing now is the PSO, protected species, but that's actually done and paid for through our contract with Termingen. So we actually aren't paying for the environmental consultation anymore, unless we have a question on something like, as for instance, we have this sewage pump out loan, and we had to work through some channels of that recently, so we had to use our environmental consultant for that. But those three are the consultants we have, and Kim's amazing and worth every penny, and we will do very well with the project. And she's done it.
Thank you.
Any other question?
And you're just, sorry, real quick, you're saying this is coming out of a separate pot of money in the enterprise harbor fund, essentially?
Tony?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's a harbor reserve or harbor fund.
Okay.
I don't know exactly.
And all our consultant?
All three come out of that.
Okay, perfect.
And they've been on board since,
2 years. Two change.
since we got awarded.
Okay.
It's on page 35. To be a roll call.
Yeah, okay, are we good? Your vote, okay. Oh, should be a roll call?
Yeah, it's
Because it's
money,
spending
it's
money.
money, we should go.
Okay, call roll.
So on resolution 12403, Kathy Sherman,
Yes.
Ann Schaefer,
Yes,
Casey Kinsman,
Yes.
Kristen Carpenter,
Yes.
Tom Baylor,
Yes.
Wendy Rainey,
yes,
Ken Jones, and Arjun is not with us. Absent, motion carries 6-0.
Okay, thank you. No unfinished business, no miscellaneous business, pending agenda. So we get to the addressing.
So I have one question that I wrote down and I don't want to forget and want to say it up front. So if we're notifying the people at 6.5 Mile, are we notifying everybody who had a change of address?
Right, yeah, I would say, yeah, we put a pause on the process until we can discuss the policy. And
I mean, are we gonna be discussing like if we do have where, let's just say a street and one house on that street had to get changed because there was one odd and it wasn't the whole street? Are we now gonna have that one anomaly on that street? Are we only gonna do this for when it's a large section such as EAC Drive? You know, I mean, where are we drawing this line? And I guess maybe that's a conversation we have at that meeting.
Yeah.
But I just wanna bring that up, I mean.
Yeah, no, I think that it would help to know kind of what's the range of situations that you've been dealing with, yeah. But yeah, that's,
I think we can do some general notification, you know, there's ways to get the information out to people other than I guess. Yeah, Councilor Shaw.
Oh, sorry, Tom. Didn't you say it's like, how many, 40 some?
There's roughly 40-ish that change.
So I would suggest we notify by mail those specific people who are potentially like me already changing, or in the process now, as soon as possible. And then that becomes a discussion at the meeting.
Yeah.
And I'm for not kicking the can down the road. Because this needs to be decided.
And is it 40 people something we can reach out by phone? Do we have a more immediate way to reach out to these people?
That's an unknown. Okay. We don't necessarily have phone numbers for everybody, not everybody has a landline, people have numbers that they haven't provided us, we only have mailing addresses. We've also learned that some of the mailing addresses that people have provided us are no longer valid. So,
And we've heard from at least 2 people who are gone for the next several months.
9 people who could be out of town.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Baylor.
Yeah, I think what council needs is just some facts, the cause and effect of any changes that we make. How would those changes be made? We've already heard from the public, so there's some concern there. I don't think we need to go through that again. We just need to know from the planner how we would accomplish this. If we make changes, what's the effect that would have? We already know what the effect will have if we leave it the way it is. So I think then we need to make our determination. And since that's the only issue, could we not have this like next week on a noon meeting and get this thing taken care of so these people aren't being dragged down the line? Would that be a possibility with council?
Yeah.
Are you asking us, are you asking the planner to tell you what the people whose addresses are changing are going to have to do? Or-
No,
I'm not-
I'm not saying that. I'm saying, so if we make, right now, the city planner, the city has a plan. It sounds like council is not sold on that totally. So if we have to start making exceptions for different addresses, what's the cause and effect there? How does that affect him going forward? What's it affect the rest of the community? Are we saying that the 40 that are going to change, we're going to make exceptions for them? I think that's what we need to make our decision on, is how is it affecting the town as a whole? If there's going to be some hurt individually, then sometimes that's the way it works out. But I don't think we need to have this big debate. We know it's going to be painful for some people, but we should be able to get that information. If we put this on the agenda, we should be able to quickly have that discussion and give direction and move forward. And I think we could do that in our meeting at lunchtime. And let's get this done.
Councilman Sherman.
I would just add on to that, I mean, we're asking the planner to provide us with some information, but if we're gonna be changing policy or making exceptions to the policy, then we're involving code changes.
Well,
No,
I mean, there's different policy. There are things that are council policy to give to staff, but this is really a staff policy. This is like what Kevin does in his office policy. I have like some things I do for the election policy that I do in my office. This goes with the code that was adopted in 2012, but it's still a function of his department. So I guess council can direct the manager to tell that department to change that policy kind of thing. But then that would, I guess, you just rewrite your policy, but I don't know how you rewrite a policy to say grandfather or exceptions or I don't know how it will come in front of you for an action. I guess that's what I don't know.
So then is this more of a work session to review the policy, see what's in the policy? And then have a conversation of how we want to direct staff to change that policy. I don't know how granular we're trying to get
It's very
into
in the
it,
weeds,
so.
or if we're talking about compensation. What does that look like? What does that cost us?
We can't afford any compensation, people.
Talk about building.
The government exists to help the people or to make things easier. And if we're making things more difficult, for no reason at all, other than just to do it.
If there is
It's for uniformity.
Yeah,
That's the reason.
consistency and uniformity.
But that doesn't help us, get to our end purpose. Our end purpose was to have an E911 system that had unique addresses in it, where everybody has their street signs
That was
out
one
there.
purpose of addressing. There's a million.
That was the main
to have
purpose
quality
of addressing that committee.
Yeah, I mean.
We're all spending it on that.
Yeah, we need to talk about when we're gonna have the next meeting, right? Is that what the question is?
Yeah, it's
And
what
then also what we're asking staff.
staff was wanting to know what we needed on that, for that agenda. And I think we need the policy. Right? We need whatever the policy is and whatever the code is. We need that in front of us, and then we need to, council needs to debate what they wanna do.
If we could do a special meeting the week of the 29th. I mean, we don't have anything.
Yeah, there's an extra Wednesday in the month.
Which is on all week.
Yeah, I think the 26th on that.
And not do it next week.
Next week I can do it.
Yeah.
If it's in the evening,
Oh, at night, maybe no.
or I could do, next Thursday evening, 25th.
I could do next Thursday.
I can do that, I'll do the minutes for that on that.
I could do Thursday.
Thursday evening.
Yeah, I can help.
Thursday, the 25th, Tom, evening.
Not scheduled yet. We will.
I'd have to check on that.
Yeah, I have to check too.
I need to check about this room also. I know she's pretty busy this week. Well, that's next week. So Thursday the 25th, I'll look into for like 6.
Tentatively, and we'll, if that doesn't work out, we'll
Yeah, the
figure out.
25th works for me.
Start with that and do that, do you may or may not.
Yeah, I could be able to. Call.
Let Susan know as soon as you can what your schedules are and, if we can't, if it doesn't work out, I think we need as much input as possible. into that. Anything else on the pending agenda? What else do we have we've got an extra week here, so we've got 3 weeks.
Well, we wanted to know about line of credit out of the permanent fund.
You want an ordinance?
I mean, if you want
Well, we-
ordinance, it'd be nice to do the first reading of that.
We need a report from our, what was his name?
Yeah,
Blake. For that, and then,
well, we could probably draft the ordinance and have it in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
night also with
Yeah.
his
right, you can have all that together.
information.
That night being Thursday.
Yeah. It'll be better to do it sooner, I think.
Yeah, we're getting behind on the bills, are we? No.
No one scared me.
Well, yeah, we need to move.
You don't want.
We're not in a crisis mode.
Okay.
So then there's gonna have to be a public hearing that day as well.
Right.
As the first.
Yeah. Public hearing for,
If we put moving money from the permanent fund is gonna takes 2 public hearings, on first read and on adoption.
okay.
And you all looking at 3 million, is what you wanted to put on that?
Do you guys need to tell us what's your,
I'd like to hear the financial planner's recommendation.
what's your,
And the best part about that is that we can move it as we need it. kind of.
right,
Even if you approve 3 million, not to exceed or something, not as though we have to pay it.
Well, I would like, Colin threw out 3 million, I would like this is the number. That
Will get us
maybe with a
through.
little more thought to it than being put on the spot, so we're not doing this again. Hopefully not doing it again.
anything else for the pending agenda? No,
I mean, did we ever get to the bottom line with Holly and that conversation of what's that, Title V and buttoning that up? I mean, I know we're kind of looking at some of the things we could do in Q2 now, and the rest will be for next year. I think there's probably more work session conversation that needs to be had there.
Don't know.
Unless I have missed 2 meetings. I did listen back on them. I don't think that was brought up though.
But I missed them too, so I don't know where we are, I need to touch base with her.
Yeah, we need to do.
And we get an update, that would be great.
Okay.
And then tied with, I know we can have another conversation of what's on here for revenue. I don't want us to wait until budget time that we're having this revenue conversation like we were doing this year. So, because I know some of those things like, that were tied to like registration fees or taxes, we're 2 years out on that, so I'd rather make sure we're taking advantage of that as quickly as possible.
Does that include the exemption discussion?
That would be type 5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Putting
exemption.
that out then. Now that-
Yeah.
Where is the sales tax?
Yeah.
Be nice to clean.
Where we're at with that, with Title 5, separate work session coming forward, I don't think we can put some on the calendar now, but also addressing revenue. Continually looking at options and what some action items moving forward, so.
Feel free to find us a finance director too,
Yeah,
while you're at it.
we made it enticing, I mean.
You had some more interest as soon as we did that. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean the right candidate showed up.
Right.
It sounded like.
Yeah.
There was interest, and then there was a letdown.
Alright. Alright.
okay, so staff will come up with whatever else needs to be on that agenda.
the calendar had me excited that we were actually having our first February meeting on the 31st. I know that's not the case.
I did.
7, because the 14th I would be here, the 21st I will be traveling.
Did I do
We will be,
It's the 7th and the 21st.
Oh,
You said
look at
earlier.
there. It's up there. Sorry.
you will be receiving your evaluation packets for the manager and the clerk prior to the end of this month.
Thank you.
So that we can have the first round on the 7th as well.
Or are we doing, I guess I don't know how to work with manager, with interim and existing, we do 2 evaluations, are we?
We've, I don't think we've ever done an evaluation on an interim manager.
I never had one.
Yeah, okay. I'm just curious what I'm gonna be looking at and who I'm.
We can do whatever you wanna do, but at this point in time, it will just be Ellen for the time she was here. And, any other comments on the agenda? Hearing none, then we're back to audience participation. Want to talk about anything you wanna talk about? Addressing or others?
I'm gonna be really quick. I know, Councilman Beto was, I don't know if you've heard this or not. But anyway, so Kathy's address apparently was different than the other numbers on her street, is why they changed her. So the main city of Cordova has a standard addressing system. And 6.5 miles out of town, we have the city assigned addresses and we have a standard addressing system. So it's a little bit different. And I think it's wonderful that people are gonna have addresses. I'm all for that as well, but I just hope, I'm gonna send this letter from Hillary Palmer. I'll make sure you all get it, because she is an expert. I'm not an expert. And yes, I don't want my address changed, but she is an expert and I thought she had some really good points. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joan.
If you just send that to the clerk, she'll distribute it to us.
Okay.
I just want to thank you all for your time you put into this. Just the bottom line, what I see though is communication. I mean, you know, yes, this has been working on for 12 years, but what was it? 6th, 7th, 8th of January is the first time I was informed that my address was going to be changed. And then, okay, it's going to happen in 20 days. So anyway, just communication, I think, is a big key. Thanks. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Bill.
Any other comments from the public? Okay, hearing no, move on to council comments. Tom Bailey.
Yeah, thank you. I recently sold a house and moved from one address to the other. So guess what I had to do? I had to send everybody a notice that I moved, and that I got a different change of address. And that was a trust, that was a business, that was insurance companies, though. Everything everybody listed, that's a pain. It's not that big of a deal. I just did it. The gentleman that bought my house, guess what? He's moving from a house out at the 6 mile in the town. You know what he's gonna have to do? Same thing, just write everybody letters, so my address is now changed. Most of us, our billing address for your Visa and stuff is a post office box, and that's something to keep in mind. That never changes. So I don't buy into this, the world is ending because I gotta change my address. I'm sorry, I just don't buy into it. But I do want to hear all the rest of the facts from staff, what the effects would have on this. But right now I would support getting this thing straightened out, which we've been trying to do. So thanks everybody for their comments. Information is always helpful, and have a good evening.
Thank you, Tom. Councilmember Kinsman.
Yeah, great conversation. I look forward to having more on it, getting, I guess, some potentially more information if we need to address all of this. Great. I do not propose kicking this down the road. And I do not like the idea of this, anyways, the idea of grandfathering, again, I struggle with that with this community, so anyway, that's just part of it, I guess. I look forward to more conversation, so I'll leave it at that. Great to see so many people here when there's hot topics. We meet the first and third Wednesday. You're welcome to come all the other times that we come. We discuss very important and interesting things then too. And we have 2 open seats on council. So you're welcome if you want to enact change. This is a great time for you to get on with it. And that would be what I would encourage anyone and everyone to do. One of the newest members, I can't say that officially, Wendy's here, but I can say it's not as scary as people make it out to be. And people, have a pretty good council right now that we disagree at times, but we do it respectfully. And I think we're actually getting some positive things done. Unfortunately, that means we have to go into some of the weeds a little bit, but it's worth it. I'm grateful for this community, so.
Councilmember Schaefer.
Yeah, I really appreciated all the letters and, all the public comment, and yeah, I look forward to our next conversation about it and just getting a better idea of the scope of the issue and the details, about, the issue. And yeah, as Councilmember Kinsman said, we've got 2 seats open, and so please I encourage you to run, and I would encourage you to encourage others to run. It is interesting and fun, and you'll learn a lot. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Carpenter.
Sure. I echo some of the comments that have been made already, but I did want to thank the city manager for working on an MOU with the chamber to manage or to help with the marketing of the Cordova Center, because that is something that I've been interested in seeing happen for a long time. We have this great building, and we should be having more conferences like what's going on today with the Mariculture region and other trade associations. We could have 3 or 4 of those a week, and that would be great for filling our beds and eating in our restaurants. And so thank you for doing that, because I think that could really help us. It sounds crass, but monetize this great asset. Thank you.
Maureen?
Yeah, I appreciate, all the input. I appreciate, Kevin, your job. I know that you guys follow policy, and I am really happy that you follow policy, but I think that, when we make policy, especially when the city gives out numbers and then the next year they make a policy that's detrimental to the numbers that they just gave out, you have to look at the repercussions of that policy, and that policy, there was an error there. And, no, it's not a huge ordeal to change your address, but some of these folks have been here for so many years, and it's an identity. If my road changes from Orca Road, that doesn't just affect my business, that affects my identity at that point in this community, and it's been that way for a long time. It's a personal affront. It's not something that's flip. An address, I mean, when you buy your first house, this is an achievement and a personal property, whether, I don't know how to explain it. I just think that the city made an error, and I think it's wrong for us to ask the citizens to pay for the city's error. With that being said, I certainly did not have a problem with Kevin doing his job and going with the policy. I just think that, policies are there for a reason, and if there's an issue, we need to change it. And grandfathering, that's an annexed part of this community. They're annexed. They do not get all of the benefits that the rest of the community gets, but they pay taxes. So, and now we're asking them to pay for something else that the city screwed up, and I have a problem with that. There is one open seat for council, because I am running for another seat. So I encourage somebody else to run for the open seat and to vote for me for CP. But yeah, so, and I appreciate everybody coming to the meeting, so thank you very much for your time.
Councilmember Sherman.
It's hard to follow. I was going to thank everybody for their letters and their comments, because it obviously brought an issue to the forefront that we didn't realize. And I would also say to Joan, never challenge a librarian. She does her research. And then I wanted just to follow up on what Bill Howard said too with communication, because in between our meetings, well, after the holidays, and, there was quite the discussion on social media, whether we like it or not, social media is where people go to find out things, and people wanted to know where the 7% sales tax came from, and, you know, I rarely comment on social media, but I did say, for all of you, in capital letters, speaking of Casey Kinsman, who every meeting begs people to come. And, you know, but I don't think people can't always come to meetings, and I understand that, but there are ways to view city council and to learn what we're doing. I do think, though, that Bill has a point, that we can do communication a lot better. A lot better. And it shouldn't be us having to enter into discussions on social media. We have social media pages for the city. We have a website for the city. We have a PIO officer, public information person for the city. It would be easy to do a little recap, and I would even do it, but people need to know what's going on at the council meetings. A little short summary. You know, hey, we're gonna meet next week and talk about addressing. Anybody interested? You know, it's just, I can't stand hearing people say, I didn't know about this. And that to me is a red flag that we're not doing our job at the city to get the information out. And it's no blame placed on anybody, but it's just, it's something we could do better. And, I just think we're falling down there. So.
Okay, thank you. We have any need for an executive session? No. Okay, our business being concluded, then we will adjourn the meeting.